This is GTAGUPOS, and this is the Unpopular Opinion Open Discussion. Please feel free to join. There's a link in the chat if you do choose to join. Today's discussion is about racism. Mainly, we want to go ahead and discuss how racism is affecting you personally, or not. But if you do have any other questions, or if you want to just join the conversation, please feel free to join. No, that was alive. Let's see if anyone's going to join the chat. I see there's 6 people in here. Who wants to join the chat? Let me fix this. How you doing, Chester? How you doing, Judy? So we have somebody here. How you doing, Gas?
How's it going, man? I'm going to send a link over to my friend, and I think he's going to join us too. What's the topic for today?
Racism is today's topic.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, we're discussing racism.
Because I think one of the things we need to talk about is clarifying what kind of definition we're talking about.
My definition of racism is really just treating someone differently or badly based off the color of their skin. That's right. My simple go-to.
That's really what it used to mean.
So if there's any other form of racism that anyone is willing to share their opinion, please join and discuss with us. I'm all ears. Again, as we said last video about the echo chamber, I don't like having the echo chamber. How you doing, Veg Beauty? Because whenever you have an echo chamber, you're only hearing one side of things, and you're not really learning from other people. You're just learning from the same people, and you already have the same thoughts. So I think it's good to go ahead and get that stuff out there. But yeah, speaking of racism, let me see. Someone asked me a question today on my community page. Let me pull it up here. And I said, this is a very valid question. I answered it as best as I could. Why does it do that? All right. So Quick 604 Silver is his name. I'm going to go ahead and type it. Oh man, this computer, dude. I'm going to type it in the chat here, his question. And just put it up on the screen. Exactly that. You can scream that all you like, man.
I always forget to turn on the live comments.
So I'm gonna go ahead and put that come there. I'm gonna go ahead and show it. Basically, what they asked me: do you think African Americans still calling themselves the N-word helps at all or hinders progress? And my simple answer to that is the N-word hindering or progressing. It depends on how much power you want to give that word. Me personally, I don't give that word much power because again, I know a lot of people who get real emotional when it comes to hearing that word, and it is in some cases disrespectful, and in some places it's called endearment. But yeah, and he didn't really explain helps in what way. But again, I can only assume if it's helping with like ending racism or progressing the Black community. But in general, I see it this way. I have female friends who get offended when guys call them a bitch, right? And what they do is they get mad and they say, "Don't you call me a bitch? Don't you say that? That's rude. It's offensive. You don't do that. That's rude." Da, 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 da. And they scream at the top of their lungs and they say, "No, don't do that." How you doing, Joe Cool?
What's up, Joe Cool?
And what ends up happening is they get pissed off and they gave that person so much power just because they called them a bitch.
Right.
How you doing, Huckleberry? But then they go to their friends and like, "Oh, how you doing, bitch?" This such. I've seen this happen. I'm not saying that every female does it, but I do see that they don't give that same amount of power to their peers, their friends, or everyone else. So I could see how, if you're giving that word power, then it could cause a hindrance. And if you're just not, I mean, like you can just progress and leave it at that. You know what I mean?
No, I mean.
What about you guys? What do you feel about that question?
Certainly specifically in terms of the word, like I think that the more we use it, the less power it'll have. But I suppose it's a little different in terms of the N word, even I guess the F word or fag or whatever. In that if there's history behind it, maybe that has some semblance, but it's the kind of thing you got to be mature. Let people be dumb. Let people have stupid ideas, and because to me, I think racism in itself is a punishment. Like I save my pity for people who are racist. You know what I mean? Like not if they commit a crime, of course, that's different. But it's not a crime to be racist.
How you doing, Joe Cool?
What's going on? Are we talking about the word nigga? I'm right on time if we are.
yeah. Right now, that's one of the questions right now. I see Paul asked another question too, but we're gonna go ahead and jump into that. What do you feel about the N word, bro?
Let's go ahead with Paul's because that N word, I got a million of those. Let's go ahead and with Paul. LOL, I got a question for you. White actors and comedians have been saying sorry for blacking up, but I have not seen one black actor say sorry for whitening up. What do you think? For blacking up, I think he means, and y'all help me. He means
Like
becoming ghetto and
blackface.
Oh, literally, he means blackface. White.
Yeah. So like, I kind of agree because what is it? White Girls. Remember that movie, White Girls?
Yeah.
White Chicks. Well, White Chicks with Marlon Wayans. All right. Here's the thing, right? So us as black people, right? We found that shit funny because that's what we find as a stereotype of white people, or especially white women in the community. Right. We found that shit funny. It was like, ha 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 ha. But what's his name? He does a night show. Not Jimmy Fallon.
You ain't talking about Jay Leno.
No. He used to do Carl. What's his name? Charles Barkley impressions, right? And he dressed it all. You know who I'm talking about, Joe Cool, right? You're talking about white Jimmy Kimmel, right? He used to wear a whole bodysuit and dressed up as Charles Barkley and do an imitation of Charles Barkley. It was a whole black suit, right? And this was like 20 years ago, and now he's coming back out of the woodworks, apologizing. Oh, sorry, my character. It's like, bro, it was funny. Just let it go. Let it slide. Whatever. I mean, like, people are bringing up the past so much, right? And they're adding so much power to something you
Take
know,
that question down, G-Tag, so I can see you guys.
yeah, here you go.
All right.
Yeah. So, they're adding so much power to, the blackface, the molding, putting over doing a character, a parody, compared to actually insulting somebody. If you're trying to actually insult my race, I'd be like, hey man, that's a little bit fucked up, but what, I'm gonna ignore that. I'm not gonna give it as much power as you want it to have,
I think it's the intent, right?
Yeah.
If I tell you what's up, nigga, that's Joe. If my motherfucker tell you what's up, nigga, you might
Yeah.
think something else. And if my motherfucker tell you what's up, nigger, now suddenly it has a whole different fucking meaning.
Yeah, and like to me, I don't see a difference between the GA, the GAH, or the ER. I don't see a difference in it. I know what you're saying. You're saying nigga, nigga that, nigga this, nigga that. What was that teacher who was in the in the classroom? I say it all the time. Nigga this, nigga that. Nigga, can I get $1? Nigga, can I get, and I find it funny because, here we got Brian here. I see it all the time. I just don't give it power. I can't give it power because you have to, realize that that's what some people are looking for. Is that intent to take control of your emotions. You know what I
would
mean?
agree. And nigga in my neighborhood is like saying cat, water, bird, tree. I mean, it's part of my lexicon. I mean, deep set, white people, Hispanics. If you're from here, you use it a lot. But that hard ER, man, I can't lie. That shit gets under my skin still, bro. And, if it's one of my white buddies saying it, it's the funniest shit in the world. I remember I was in college and somebody rolled past and said that I was on my way to the bookstore and said, hey, nigger. And then, I didn't even see who it was. I was cool. I go to the crib. My boy met me at my dorm. I'm so sorry. That was me yelling at the car. I thought you'd see me and I was joking. I'm like, fuck, I done ruined his day. He thinks some racist that yelled at him. Fuck, I couldn't wait to get over here, Joe. So, coming from him, it meant something different.
Yeah. How you doing, Brian?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
This is a really cool friend of mine. I know that when we started talking about coming online and talking about topics, I knew that this is the guy I wanted to get us involved because we've gone back and forth and we disagree on a lot of things.
Brian? You talking about Brian?
Yeah, Brian and I. We've been like.
I'm gonna have to ask Gas to apologize for wearing black eyes.
Right? Why they gotta be black? Right, guys?
Blackface.
It's in support, right?
Hey, Brian, I love motherfuckers that disagree and shit. I think that's where you sharpen your mind. If you're around motherfuckers that agree with you all the time, you learn nothing. So I can appreciate what Gas is talking about.
Exactly.
Right? I was friends.
I think we had
man. So the topic is racism. I think the question earlier was it was.
It's about actors wearing blackface or doing some form of a black.
When he said blackening up, I was wondering might even be a more interesting question. What about the white motherfuckers that suddenly act black, or some black motherfuckers? Hi, Bob. How you doing, Bob? That you can't tell. You know what I'm saying? Or some white dude is like, "What's happening, baby? What's good, baby?" And you can't fucking tell. I thought we might be talking about that shit. And I don't have a problem with that. I think the way you grow up, who you're with, that's such a defining characteristic, man. You are what you are. I don't get mad at that shit.
Yeah.
As long as the motherfucker trying to learn and better himself, I'm okay with that.
I totally agree with that, and there's the thing about, like, there's an underlying respect factor that is not communicated between people all the time. It's acted, it's visual, you can just meet eyes with somebody and you can tell whether they trust you for whatever distance you're at, say you're at the grocery store, or, wherever, say if you're friends or whatever, or whether they distrust you. But racism comes off as it's a completely different thing, and
I'm laughing
here
at that dude over there, by the way, in Chester. I'm laughing at Chester. I was really high one night. He took a picture and he's using that as background.
But what I was going to say was, as somebody who studies a lot of theory and electrical engineering and things like that, and energy, it's degrading to anybody to just be angry in general, about anything. It closes your mind.
Wait. When you say that, you mean degrading to oneself?
Yes, yeah, to your own self,
okay.
whoever is doing it. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's just harmful to you, and it may make other people angry, but it doesn't have to affect them if they don't let it. But a lot of times, people are influenced regardless. It's just common nature.
Because also, let's be honest, words have power. That's what we use. I haven't met G-Tag, but if I talk about his mama suddenly, I'm using my words in a bad way. I can lose a friend. Words have power. That's what words mean. I love you.
I guess I say
I'll never let any harm come to you. Words have power.
Yeah, and I will say, like right here, Joe, I'll say this. I am always cool about what anybody has to say about me, even if it's offensive. I don't let that shit, I don't let that shit slide. But it was like, I had one time when I was in middle school. How you doing, Joe, Johnny? And exact that. But I was in middle school. Somebody was talking shit, saying, "Oh, your pants are dusty, your shoes are ugly. Oh, look at this," just roasting. That's the thing that happens in the community all the time. Everybody's always roasting. It's fine, whatever. And he said, "Oh, well, your mama da 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 da." I said, "Whoa now. That ain't gonna happen."
You don't cross the line.
Right?
Yeah, there's a personal boundary you don't cross.
Yeah, so that I will not let slide. My mom, she birthed me, she raised me. She helped me. Out in situations. My dad was there when I grew up.
I heard you say something about when I was first walking in, something about somebody, women calling each other bitch. I don't know if you know about this, but I'm from the gang community. I joined when I was like 10 years old. Been in since. Yeah, and then when you go to jail, I've never been to prison, but in jail, in prison as well, you're not allowed to let anyone use that word. If you want to fight a motherfucker, you use it once, and he's gonna look at his gang. That guy looks at his gang, and then the fight starts. But you don't get away with that word. So it irks me. I never hear it on the streets, even by mistake. I go years without that shit. And then in this community, some nigga think it's okay to call you a bitch or something. I try to relax and shit, but that's a trigger for me, man. I think it's from my environment.
I think earlier I was saying it's like in reference to using the N-word, amongst the black community and amongst females being called bitch.
Yes, I got you. It's the same thing. I draw the same parallel. Yes,
right.
It's still calling their girlfriends bitch. Yes,
C-word.
Sorry. So we have Chester. We have Chester in here. I haven't heard a word from him. Yeah, let's give him a little chance to speak.
Chester's a
you muted. Let me see if I can mute him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There we go. I hear him now.
So I'm the most white bread, person you could probably actually meet in your entire life. I come from a little tiny town, and they intentionally kept certain people out of the town. And it was maybe 6,000, 7,000 people.
Right.
And then I'd go to West Philly, and I'm exposed to a whole different scene up there when I go to college. And
what'd you learn?
When I was in elementary school or high school or middle school, we were taught about prejudice. So the thing that we were taught about was prejudice, and it was explained that you can be prejudiced against Chicago pizza versus Philadelphia pizza versus New York pizza, right?
I agree.
But don't put the skin color, don't put the religion into it. I mean, you can, and so in some cases, I think it's class, a class of people, or you give what you get, or you get what you give,
Yes.
and if somebody's coming off to you like you're not in the same wavelength as them, you're going to react a different way. And it's not always a black, white, yellow, pink, whatever thing. But it's
not.
It's perceived as that.
But it's not, because a white motherfucker from not my neighborhood is exactly like me. A Hispanic motherfucker here is exactly like me. They talk the same. They walk the same. It's not. It can't be race.
And if you don't know them, then you're going to be more standoffish, right?
Yes.
Until you understand them.
Yes.
And
Regina.
My Regina.
I think it's getting blown out of proportion.
Hey, girl.
And that's my opinion.
Yeah. No, and you're right about the like to being kind of a sheltered thing. Is when I was up in North Dakota, I told this story last time, so I won't tell it again. But it's like black people were going to these schools, but there were no school graduation pictures with anything but white people in them. So there is some kind of semblance. I say there is certainly some truth to a history there. That certainly the rural towns need to kind of catch up on. And for the most part, I think they kind of have. Like, even being gay up there, it was no big deal. I never got looked at funny or anything, which is kind of what I expected, even though I guess I shouldn't have. But I think it's still kind of changed a little bit. It's just, still there a little bit too.
a little bit, like you said, right? But being black and being ghetto, I doubt me and G-Tag came up the same fucking way. But being black and being ghetto, you see the parallels. Like I think back into the 60s when Martin Luther King was doing his thing. The average person, period, was saying, "Get out of here! You're stirring up our good niggers." And that was black and white people. And particularly the white masses thought everything was fine. Leave shit alone. Our people are happy. It's the same way now. The masses are not like the cats you meet here. The white cats you meet here will spin your head around with what they know about racism and oppression and shit. But the average white motherfucker, it still is so fucking comfortable. He ain't took time to delve into the shit that we talk about, that we rap about. So through ignorance alone, I would say the vast majority of motherfuckers are racist. Not that they hate me. Martin Luther King also said that it's not the KKK and the radicals are not our problem. It's the so-called good white people content to look the other way. To me, that is who we need to win over. And I'm glad to see them out here in the streets protesting side by side with us. I've never seen that in my life. Not to this extent.
Brian, did you have anything to say there?
Yeah, I was gonna say I totally agree with that. It's all about the people that are just looking the other way, like you're saying, not caring. And it's not intentional from people, but they are not doing anything for the people that are intentional, because there are some small groups that are doing a lot of damage to a lot of people. We're seeing it happen blatantly now. It's really popping up in the news. And that's what's really messed up about it, And, a person like me, I never get involved in something like that. But I've never thought too much about not, getting involved in something like this. And now, it's just too hard to ignore. It's just too much. It's so disrespectful to every population on Earth that it is,
right? Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, or like the Africans say, beware any pest in your neighbor's field, or one day they'll end up in your own. If I don't help you with your problems, how can I expect someone to rush to my aid when I have a problem and I'm not that type?
And small towns have that kind of thing, in the sense where, like, certainly up in North Dakota, Brian knows, is that if there's a car broke down on the side of the highway and it's freezing cold outside, like, it's almost illegal to not stop. So I think we almost need to have that kind of community sense. But it's almost like we're kind of pushing against nature here, though, is that people naturally congregate to people that are like them. Like with people who are comfortable using the N-word around each other, some guy who white collar, not necessarily a part of the scene, comes in and like, hey, what's up, N-words? People are gonna look at them funny because they're not part of the they've not been initiated per se kind
I
of thing.
get people come in, don't say "What's up, niggers," which what they try to say. They say "What's up, niggers,"
Yeah,
and then
like,
but I'm
Howdy,
patient,
niggas.
and I'm I'm a nice guy, and I'll be like, I'm like, hey, how you doing, man? By the way, it's
yeah,
just us, a couple friends here, so you'll get away with that. But somewhere else you can get in trouble. Watch your words. I'll say that.
right.
So,
Steve
Time and place.
Jonas had
Time and
something good
place.
in chat.
so what do you guys think about the Confederate flag? We're just gonna go ahead and throw this one out here. Because me, I don't give that any power either. I don't care if you want to fly it. That's you. I particularly just don't deal with you. You know what I mean? That's just my thing, right? But I want to know what you guys think about it.
I'll let someone
Go
else.
ahead, Chester. Go.
So
Okay, that's one of y'all. Go ahead.
there were two flags, right?
Right.
Yes,
Stars
we're
and
aware. We're aware, Chester. Yes.
Was the battle
I
flag.
think he's talking about the Dukes of Hazzard one that's become so popular.
Yeah.
And that seems to signify a what the fuck are you doing? And it's not my opinion. And we're not going to stand up for this bullshit. Whereas I would fly the don't tread on me or the
Whatever.
Gadsden flag. So I think it's in some cases a misunderstanding of history, and that's where we can't eliminate history. We have to learn about history. We have to know about history, and what other people understand about that history. Because the Stars and Bars, and I'm going to Gettysburg on Saturday to protest them burning the American flag. So,
burn it, baby, burn it. I'm with G-Tag. Set it on fire. It means nothing.
It means I've carried 7 caskets that were draped in the American flag, and it means it just irks me to no end. But I'm going to go out there and stand there because of that. I'm sorry if you disagree, but
no, we don't want to get Gas say what he was trying to say. We don't want to
and
go
before Gas, Chester, I don't disagree with anything. When I say I don't mess with you, this is what I mean. You can do whatever you want to do with whatever flag you want to do it with, right? I'm not going to stop you from doing it, but say you're flying a "We Hate All Niggers" flag, and I'm not saying that's what that flag represents. I'm just saying you're flying a "We Hate All Niggers" flag, right? And you go out there. I was like, you do you, but don't come around my house with it, man, because I don't want to be associated with that right now. But we can still go ahead and have a beer down the road and discuss.
Yeah.
Why would you fly a "Hate All Niggers" flag? And I'm not saying that's what it is. Right. I'm just saying you can always have a difference of opinion and come back and talk with me. That's all.
Let me say this as far as gassing about the statues. I think you said flag and the statues. A lot of those statues that they're tearing down are the ones that were erected after they took they did that Black Wall Street shit and killed all them black folks, and they felt empowered. They were winning. At times in history, when they destroyed black folks, they erected those monuments to stick it in the face of black folks and the people in the North to let them know we don't take that shit. Those are the ones, by the way, catching shit. Ain't nobody trying to take down nothing at Gettysburg. We recognize the difference, by the way. And personally, I want to leave them up. The Bible says you do not tear up the people who's before you monuments and shit. I wouldn't be so quick to tear them down.
I agree.
And destroy them.
We don't want to tear them. Certainly not mob rule. Yeah.
So when they do their reenactment out there, and if you've ever seen that, it's inspirational. It's a very sad and solemn act that they perform, and they're in I would costume, in battle dress, and they're reenacting history.
Tammy does that. He used to do it. Tammy Linland. He used to do that.
Yeah. So it's appropriate there because it's a reenactment of history. Right. And you have to understand that this is part of our history. And if you can't learn from that, we're going to repeat it. That's You know,
I agree. All right, Gas, you have something?
Certainly on the topic of flags, right? Monuments aside, I'd say flags specifically is what I'm talking about. Is that flags are above, like, I would say they're more than just a word. They're a symbol, if you know what I mean. It's something that let's say the Confederate flag, per se. Actually, I think a more appropriate one would be the blue line flag, because so many people are opposed to it.
Okay.
Now, with flags, when you do something like take it down or tell someone they can't fly it, that it's like a snapped trap. They will grab onto that thing as hard as they can, and they will not let it go.
Okay.
So tearing down flags, it's your First Amendment to burn flags. I don't like it. I think that it's not. I think that it's a fairly unproductive thing to do, but you still have the right to do it. I'm just not going to do it.
Yes.
It's that, like the hate all N-words flag, that kind of also sits in there, is that the stance that should probably be taken is, all right, well, that's your flag, okay.
I think I would take that stance, but I want them in my neighborhood because I know my neighbors would beat the dog shit out of them. But I ain't take that stance. I'd be like, please, guys, don't hurt them. Please, stop.
Yeah, I definitely agree that in reality, you're definitely playing with fire when you go making statements of any kind.
But that's the good thing, right, about community. We'll determine what needs to be done, as opposed to some white cop coming to my neighborhood, and this is literally happening. He hit me to say, "What's up, nigga?" to one of my guys, and he told me, "Oh, that was racist. How dare you say that? Why do you call him a nigger?" I've had all sorts of weird, because they don't know what the community is like.
So couldn't that energy be focused somewhere else instead of dividing? I mean, if that symbol means so much to you or to someone, shouldn't that the energy be brought to bring people together, like this forum, versus tearing people apart?
Brian, you were trying to speak.
And I was basically just going to say exactly what Chester said. Is we can all go and do the same things and be just as nice to anybody, and talking about it objectively as if the history isn't there, because obviously that's like an elephant in the room. But the thing is, working at it proactively. Again, the swastika was originally meant to be a peace symbol and a symbol of power and unity. That's right. And it was taken and made into something else. I'm not saying that the American flags, original ones, but it was originally meant to do good.
Let me, Brian, let me play a little devil's advocate and stir the pot a little bit. And you too, Chester, you'll find this interesting. What say? I don't like the flag. I'm a black man. It means something different to me, right? I don't even like you cats flying it in your school, here and there. Because to me, it stands for white supremacy and oppression, right? And the same, what's this other freaking symbol of fucking, oh shit. I can't come up. I had another example as well. But what about the person who does not agree with that, with that shit, with that philosophy? And I say, oh, the other one was the national anthem. The national anthem, I'm not a fan of, because the verse that they cut off that they never played talks about, let's go kill all slaves and hirelings and shit. Yeah, we'll show them blood. It talk about killing a black motherfucker that rebelled and stood up. So I don't like those. Let's say now, because they're symbols, they stand for the wrong thing. I want to get rid of the national anthem. What do you cats think? It's divisive. I can't believe they chose that song. It talks about killing slaves. How could my nation choose such a song? It's got to go. What do you guys think?
I'm not familiar with that part.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah. I certainly, after 9/11, when they started making us do the Pledge of Allegiance every day.
Yes.
That was when I stopped being like, how many times do I got to do it? You know, is the pledge for life or only for 24 hours? You know, so
right, good point. I did that yesterday.
I got something for you guys. Okay, so this goes back to like eradicating something that has a racist undertone. As you said, killing all slaves. How many of you guys know the original Ice Cream melody? You know that.
I'm familiar. Yeah.
All right. So if you are familiar with it, the original song is actually called "Nigga Like a Watermelon." And I'm not kidding. This is for real.
Of the day, right? Yeah.
This is 100% facts. If you look up "Nigger Like a Watermelon," right? This was a song. I believe Columbus Record actually produced it in 1916. And it was the song that played, and the guy say, "Nigga like a watermelon, ha 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 ha, da 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 da. Nigga like a watermelon, ha 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 ha."
Wow,
And they say that, and a lot of people don't understand that that's actually the history of that ice cream song. There's a guy, and I believe in Brooklyn, he's trying to get that song eradicated from ice cream trucks, right? Because again, the song's been played so long under the ice cream truck melody with no lyrics, but now it has a different connotation. Oh, ice cream man's here, and you run outside. That's what it means now.
Right.
But before they decided not to play the lyrics anymore, it meant nigga like a watermelon, ha 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 ha. Do you think they should get rid of the ice cream jingle?
Personally, I'm sorry to keep talking so fast.
I see Chester's talking, but it's muted. I'm not sure.
Yes, I won't even buy off an ice cream truck playing that song anymore. I don't think it's logical. I should let it ride. It's like me and my nigga word. It's been changed. It means something else. But since I've saw the meaning and heard the original song and all that shit, I'm hot. Don't come around here with that shit. I feel that way. I can't lie.
Well, I'll actually.
I think Chester has something to say.
I guess it's your perception versus my perception. My perception is it was a song on a fucking truck. I never knew about the
right. Yeah.
So did anything just change, Chester?
Your perception about the flag, it stood for America being free, and that was the world I lived in. Was
now the national anthem is racist as fuck. That song go down that truck you like is racist as fuck.
I never heard anything past the first verse. So my perception is it's about the War of 1812 where we stood up against the British.
So nothing changed. What about the ice cream truck song? Nothing changes.
I never heard anything about that.
You just did, baby. I'm saying
I'm just hearing that for the first time. What?
Well, here's the question: the main question is, do you think just because it has a racist, past, do you think that song now should be, abolished from all ice cream trucks? Even though now a lot of people don't even remember that. Like, do you think we should bring it back up? That we should rise it up from the grave, and then say, well, because we remember this from the past and we know about it, we're going to educate everyone else about it and tell them get rid of the song completely. Do you think we should do that?
I think. Oh, sorry, Brian.
Go on. Oh,
no, Brian. You don't.
All right. Well, you know what? I think honestly, that's awesome. Honestly, a great business move as well, because a lot of people don't know that song. If somebody were to reinvent that and just not say anything about it, it would stick, and you could make money on it and change the world. But nobody would know a thing.
Is that another way to tear us apart by bringing that up now? I mean,
yeah.
I also think. Sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that just the other thing about it too is I can argue so many sides here, and this is the kind of person I am, but it is a symbol, and it was originally meant to say, what you said, about the watermelon. I'm not going to quote you, but that was what it was originally meant to be. So if the flag means so much to somebody as a symbol and its origin is what it is, that song should be the exact same way. I'm just being logical here.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope.
It's a symbol, and it's a musical symbol at that.
But it's a symbol, but as you said with the peace sign, does that symbol change? Are you saying that stick with the original meaning?
I personally don't give a shit, you know.
Yeah.
I don't care about symbolism.
It's really a personal.
I don't care about all that shit, you know. I think it's stupid, to be honest.
In the beginning, the Constitution made certain people 1/12 of a person, and we changed that, and we live with that today. You know,
What did we change?
We don't count people as 1/12 any longer. We're all.
I mean, I don't know if we changed that shit, man. I know. Well, we put it as 3/5 in the Constitution or the Declaration or something.
It was,
and
I think it was the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, I think
gave black people full citizenship.
Right.
You know, we still don't have the right to vote, black people.
What? What the fuck?
Not permanently. Every 30 years or so, they go in and they unanimously decide to extend our right to vote another 20 years, and everybody clap like they did something good. But we the only motherfuckers on the planet, and certainly in the U.S., that do not have a permanent right to vote, man. I argue we did not make shit equal, Justin.
Well, the women didn't have the right to vote either. I mean,
now, yeah.
I mean, you know, the ruling class set up the rules, right?
Agreed. And those rules say that darkies are at the bottom, no matter what fucking skin tone. The more exotic you look, if you wear black shit around your eyes, you are at the bottom. Those rules say that.
The number one place to look out for that sort of attitude, though, is on the topic of let's look at the past kind of thing. Is they want to do all these cancel cultures for people who were doing like blackface or whatever 20 years ago, you know, things of that nature. What about all the Harvard University and Yale having a history of fighting against segregation, fighting for still having segregated schools? You know, like they had to have armed military come in and escort black children into schools because they wouldn't let them in. So
I was talking about that today.
The dude that founded Yale was a slave trader.
Yeah. I think we should abolish everybody's degree from there. Should just make let's go out.
Fuck up the whole economy.
If they're gonna go one step, I'm gonna go 10 steps further and tell them.
I like that thinking. Right.
You're gonna rip down George Washington? All right, we'll rip down your colleges. Your so precious little degree.
You're gonna have a bunch of criminals out of the street.
Right.
If you go to those extremes, there's really nothing left because everybody's going to be in some sort of disagreement with somebody else for whatever reason. You know, it may not be racism. It might be, I don't know, your favorite ice cream.
And this is America, man. I think we need a place for racism here. And I again think that the community needs to stand up. I shouldn't say against, but those civil rights fucking laws, they have to be unconstitutional. You can't make a law for one specific person, right? But I understand white motherfuckers were and are hard-headed as fuck. Even now, CNN did a study that shows a black man with a clean record has same odds of getting a job as a white man with a felony. You know, shit's ain't changed.
I don't know about that.
I can see an average.
And a black man with a felony has a statistically 0% chance of getting a job. That's in the same study.
Tim Humble, I see you're in the chat. If you want to go ahead and join, you can actually join, and you don't have to share your camera. You can just talk to us. That way we can express your views if you want to. But I think he wanted to ask about racism in rap music, all the racist comments in rap. I'm not sure exactly which comments you're discussing, but if you could clarify that, I'd post it on there, or you can even come in the chat and
I'd
discuss.
have to go back to Ice Cube talking about kill whitey and shooting the white cops. You know, I can't think of anything with somebody just talking about racism nowadays.
Yeah,
Nowadays, the artist is probably banging a white chick or married to a white woman who's ever singing a fucking song. So I don't know a lot about that shit.
Like the only, what was it, Afro Man? Remember Afro Man, Colt 45?
I gotta go.
It's called Colt 45.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
brother. Thank you for joining in. Next time, just come around in. Anything you want to have a discussion, we're always welcome to have you. So,
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much.
no problem.
Oh, you gotta head out.
Brian, be easy, baby.
Take it easy, Brian. I'll talk to you later.
Contribution.
Yeah, I think the only thing he said in there was like when the Afro Man walked through the white land, houses went up for sale. I don't know if that's racist or not. I mean,
No,
that's
that's
subjective.
true.
Is
No, that's
subjective to whoever wants to find that racist, but you know, I don't see that. I don't know any racist lyrics so far because I don't really listen to a lot of radio, or radio or music really. So if you can clarify that for me, Tim. You know,
I want to defund the government. I say cancel all welfare benefits first. Tim, I would say that, are you paying attention? They just gave $4.4 trillion to the bankers and big business and shit. And you worried about fucking welfare?
Yeah.
You know, that sound like, you know, you being set on fire and you worried about a tear in your sock.
Yeah.
You know, get the fire out first, humble.
Defund Congress. Defund Congress.
we just need more. I'd say in general, we need more businesses in the communities. You know, more startup businesses, more not these big companies, these big corporations. We need more small businesses in the communities. I think that will help with the economy in these other areas, and that help prevent crimes and stuff. I think that's where he's trying to get to. I'm just only speculating because he's not really clarifying. But
there's certainly no quick fix to any kind of, like, let's say it was Asians that were at the economic low side of the spectrum. You know, it would be the same exact issue, or even white people. It's that it would be up to those small communities, white, black, yellow, all of them, to lift each other up. Like, I live in a nice neighborhood where it is predominantly judges, lawyers.
Damn, I gotta go.
All right, man.
Adios, brother.
Where it's doctors, lawyers, judges, predominantly white, older people kind of thing. But there's black people here too, or Asians and whatnot. I don't know about a lot of. Anyway, it's a nice neighborhood, and everybody keeps the neighborhood nice looking. My house is the ugliest one in the entire, like, you know, dual neighborhood that's around here, and the only way it stays nice is that if everybody has a sense of purpose in keeping everything looking nice. And so what happens, they kind of shove the people who are not on par with it, and they make it to where, all right, I'm not going to sell to these people because they're probably not going to do a very good job based on their history, kind of thing, you know. And so it kind of naturally turns out that people will include and exclude what they're comfortable with. And so that means that black communities and white communities just naturally develop over time, depending on, of course, who's in charge, kind of thing. I think that since it's predominantly white people who own the, you know, properties, I guess, and there's certainly no, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's a generational thing, is that, like, right now we can't just fix it overnight. It has to be, we have to teach our young children how to cope in this world, you know, and I don't know how to do that. Of course, I don't have kids, so I'm just saying, it's like, I'm not doing the policy, I'm just the just the idea here.
yeah, I see. Since Joe already left, I was going to actually ask him, and you know, mainly, do you feel that you know, I'm asking you guys as well. Do you feel that black people, of course, and this is just based off today's society, do you feel that black people can also be racist?
Oh yeah. Holy crap! Like, and white people towards white people, like.
You should go down to North Carolina, down the foothills. I'm looked at as a northerner. I mean, they look at me like, you're a Yankee, motherfucker. Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
You know? So don't think there's not white on white racism.
Right.
And it's not racism. It's it's classism or prejudice. It's a prejudice against where you're coming from, your social background. It's not my skin color, right? Which is what race is. It's where you come from, or what your values are. And it's prejudice based on perception. Until you get to know somebody, you're gonna be standoffish, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest form of racism towards like a black person to another black person is whenever a black individual, I think I mentioned this last video, is when another black individual says, "You're not even black," right?
Yeah.
Right? And I say that because it's like you're trying to deny someone's reality. Like, how does that even like work? You're trying to deny my reality. I say, okay, well, you're not even black. Do I say black? I say, okay, well, you're purple now. Okay, well, you're a deer. Well, what do I say? Like, how do you deny someone's reality?
Yeah.
We had a presidential candidate say, if you don't vote for me, you're not black.
Biden said that, yeah. He did.
Say the name. I just said, and that's why throw that race card in there,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think whenever you try and deny someone's reality, I think that's even worse than like just being particularly racist. It's just that's you trying to gaslight someone's existence. Like, how do you do that?
We can even say that a lot of the times, even just calling someone racist is like denying their opinion, their existence. Oh, you don't agree with me? You're a Nazi. And like, when was the last time someone ever took the Siegfried Oath? Like, okay, Nazis don't exist anymore. They're dead. like nobody's going around saying "Hail Hitler."
No, I think there are a couple, but
a couple. Yeah,
I know.
I guess there are some enthusiasts, but we don't like to talk about that.
Yeah.
But you've also got some people on the other side too.
Yeah.
Where you have I'm trying to remember his name. He was black. I think he was a Black Panther. Talking about the Jews.
Yeah.
What
I know
the Reverend, he's in Chicago. Oh shoot. Called Termites. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. I'm not too well versed on that.
Like 10 years ago.
Well, I'll Google it real quick. But that's another example where it's racism, where you got people talking about religion. There's, I think he was
right. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Well, that is also a big problem with the Republican Party, in my sense, is that they just can't grasp what the things they do that exclude people that they could get their vote if they would just freaking let up on it. If they would make the gay community, for instance, feel a little bit more included, then they could probably get their vote, but they don't want to. They want to stick with their own thing. They got to stick with the traditional values and stuff.
But
Farrakhan.
Farrakhan. They want the Christian majority, right? So you've got this whole Christian who thinks that marriage is
right,
a Christian value,
right,
and the union is Christian,
right.
It's actually a legal thing. It's
right.
Not Christian. It's legal. I mean. Yeah. Everything's a contract. Everything you do anymore is a contract.
Right.
So there's this misconception that when the government gets involved, they're getting involved in the church, but no, they're going after money. They want your money, right?
Yeah.
It's the money, and they confuse those two things. They get more money out of you if you're married versus if you're separate. I think, right?
And even then, the gay community is also going to have to concede that point that the marriage thing it's a fairly Christian thing. Like I'd say you can get married in a church, in a courthouse legally, which I think gay people probably have always been able to do. You know,
it's a Christian thing that they turn into a legal contract, right? Whereas, you know, if you could separate the two, and certain people could have this, and certain people could have that, and you know, whatever you subscribe to,
just that's a perfect compromise.
Call it A and B. I mean,
right? But they don't want that. They want Christian bakers to bake gay cakes, and they want them to do it, not someone else. You know. So to me, I've been in a lot of groups, including the Audit one, and I've left every single one of them one by one because they've become too congregated to where they have a specific goal, and that specific goal just doesn't line up with my views. I think that we should all be for equal rights, not for gay rights, not for trans rights. We should be all rights for, like what he was saying, Joe was saying, where he's saying that black people, they had an amendment done to give them rights. Well, then maybe we should change that to be everyone has permanently the same rights.
I'm gonna have to look up that 30-year thing.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. But even if it is true, then that would be something
that's fucked up.
Yeah. And he's right in the sense that black people have a very specific three very specific amendments done to the Constitution for their rights. One was right to vote. I think another one was like right to citizenship, and the other one was a right to property or something like that. Either way, it was specific to blacks, and he has a point there, is that it should be everyone. Well, I don't know if that's what he's saying, but I say it should be everyone.
And a lot of that was the politics of the time.
Right.
So, I mean, my family, if you trace it back, we owned slaves. Am I to blame for that?
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yes, you are.
So speaking of slaves and everything going back, what do you guys think about the supposed reparations? Do you think people deserve reparations at this time?
I deserve reparations for every wrong thing done to gay and atheists. Yeah.
Well, if we trace things back to building the pyramids, I'm sure I could trace my, you know, Christianity back to a Jewish family that probably helped build the freaking pyramids, and before that, you know, parting the Red Sea. You know, where does it end?
Yeah, I think the best thing to do when you find someone who does support, you know, reparations, say if they are any other color, I guess, because I know the majority of people asking for reparations are black individuals.
Right.
You know, I've seen some white individuals who are, you know, advocating for reparations. I think the best thing you can do for those white individuals is to go up to them and say, okay, well, can you donate me $10? You know, $10 right now.
But the first people that came over here were indentured servants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were a majority Irish and Scottish people that came over here. They were white, and then somehow they became not so white when they came over because of what was going on in Africa. At least that's the history that I learned.
Yeah, my wife, she's Irish, so you know we have a black Irish baby, but she tell me like all the time, like, you know. Irish individuals were treated just as bad as slaves, and sometimes even worse, because the saying going around is at least the blacks knew their place. You know, so they would treat the Irish, you know, even as bad or even worse than the regular black slaves. They beat them more. They, you know, whatever, you know, however they want to do it, but they're hated more than regular slaves even.
Probably because they had a taste of freedom at one time,
right?
And they wanted to oppress
black people.
Yeah, who's gonna pay for it?
Irish were treated badly. The Chinese were treated horribly, and so were the blacks.
Yeah.
In fact, almost every racial minority was treated terrible to a degree.
In a lot of ways, well, every race was at one point. Certainly during the industrial age, everyone was slaves at that point. Freaking child labor and everything. We were talking about everybody getting their rights. When did children get their rights? I don't even know that. like, holy crap.
I see. Oilfield Trash said, "Who's going to pay for it?"
Yeah.
I guess for the for the reparations. It's like, not me.
This is an argument that
you're going to have to give me money, and then I'm going to have to pay somebody who's going to have to pay somebody who's going to have to pay somebody. I mean, it's just going to be a whole bunch of this, right? Because everybody has screwed other people over the last, 400, 500 years.
And an argument that I never hear is, who are these people to be the ones who are rewarded for all the suffrage that happened to people that aren't even alive anymore? Why is it not the next generation that gets the reward for the suffrage of other people? So to me, I think that when you start like allocating money from one group to another, you're not only rewarding one, you're punishing another. So it's kind of like when gay rights became a thing. When you say gay rights, you're not just including all gays, you're excluding anyone who isn't. So if I get punched, the person who punched me gets a higher sentence than if, say, they punched Hawkwind. Whereas anything that should be involved would be, if the guy was 10 times my size, maybe that should be an extra charge because of, discrepancy of power here. But in terms of like sexuality, skin color, class, or even political affiliation, there should be no protected class. It should be everyone.
I think when it comes to like any legal, like if you're defending yourself, I think you should be able to use as much force as possible. In my opinion, especially if you're defending yourself.
Right. If it was, hey, faggot, that kind of thing. If it was a actual quote hate crime, that could be part of it, But to make it mandatory every time a gay person gets punched to make it a hate crime, I don't know if that's the case, but I know that's what they're pushing for.
But weren't those passed because they brought it up to the federal level?
Right.
So because states didn't do shit about it. I mean, that was the thing about hate crimes, because some states went, you're in this class, we don't give a shit. And then you could bring about a federal lawsuit, and it would get above them, and they would do something.
Right. And
Not quite.
I guess we're talking about racism, but Hawkwind, you haven't said a lot. Let's hear from you.
Okay. Good question. What rights does anybody have that they don't already enjoy?
And I do have an answer for that. There's no rights that anyone doesn't have. I think what people are fighting for now are extra rights in general. So, but yeah, I know what you're getting at.
Exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Want rights that no one else has, but they think they're entitled to because of some special identity they think they enjoy.
Not just rights, but money too. The trans community wants the military to pay for their operations, and it's just like, no.
Yeah, no, it's us that are paying for it through the military.
Right. And even the money isn't even the argument there. It's that if you undergo this operation, are you going to be able to perform your duties after this operation? Is your hormone level going to be okay after this operation? I don't think I want a hormonally supercharged person, on the front line. Or maybe we do want someone like that on the front line. Who knows? Shit, man.
Well, here's the problem with the trans thing. It used to be when transsexualism was actually identified by chromosomal test, psychological testing, etc., places like Johns Hopkins, It was a physical abnormality and a disconnect. It was a genetic issue. Now people think, oh, I feel like a woman today. And so they feel like they deserve to go get something cut off.
Yeah.
They have so lowered the bar for transsexuals and what actually is transgenderism that everybody thinks that, oh, I feel like a woman, so I want to go get something cut off. Or I feel like a man, so I'm going to go get it sewn on. It doesn't work that way. Never has it. For women.
So
There are, now there are, recognizable issues like Klinefelters, stuff like that. Gender dysmorphia.
Dysphoria.
There are documented scientific cases, but to sit there and say, "Well, I feel like a woman because it's chic," no,
Right.
no, that doesn't
so
fly for
so
me.
so back to the reparations. I guess
Right.
we have a Veg Beauty. She's asking why it's the concern always who has to pay. In my opinion, for reparations, I'm still paying myself because again, the only reparations are going to come from the taxes
Right.
to anybody. So I'm paying taxes, and that tax money is going to come to me. And the main thing is that more tax dollars are going to go come back to me. I might as well just be a police officer at that point. You know what I mean? I'd rather be a police officer and just go ahead and get my reparations that way because I'd rather spend my tax money so it's going to recirculate back to me. So basically, the concern is how much more money am I going to have to pay in my taxes?
And an argument could be made that reparations are already being paid for the last 20, 30 years when they pour money into not so great neighborhoods, and they've been pouring money into schools and stuff like that, but it doesn't seem to work. But the main thing about reparations is I think it's even a legal term in that a victim is entitled to compensation for something wrong has done to them, by the person who did the wrongdoing. So these reparations for people who have not been a victim of, let's say, slavery, if they're talking about reparations for slavery specifically, people today have not been a victim of that. So, and nor are the people alive, the perpetrators of that act. So, no, in terms of that, no. But as if there's a victim involved, like a direct victim of like someone is to blame for their being a victim, then reparations is, I think they normally call it compensation based on pledges. What was it? Black Lives Matter came out with demands saying that like if you're a white guy and you've got an inheritance or a second house, give it to someone who's been downtrodden or whatever. I think that's great. They want to do that. I want to see all celebrities give up every penny of their wealth and give it to the black community, and we'll see them put their money where their mouth is, and how much they like it, as long as it's voluntary.
And you got a lot of them. You got a lot of them right now bailing out looters and rioters.
Yeah,
including people in the upper government like Biden supporters.
Welcome back, Joe.
Thanks, man. I was talking to Brian Cut the Plastic. I don't know if you know him. Last night he was at the Denver protest with somebody ran through it with a car.
That's why me, you, and G-Tag are so lucky to be in Texas. Because someone comes up to us in Texas, pull a weapon, blow them away, go on your merry business.
I wish it was that.
None of the reading and writing should be going down in Texas at all.
I'll be right back.
All right, Gas, when you come back, I want to rap with you about them reparations. I heard you talking about. Go do your thing, man. But we're going to rap about that when you get back, bro.
Yeah, I just have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
All right.
I don't believe anybody deserves reparations for anything.
Really? So,
I really don't.
So let's say some group of white men come over and take the country from the Indians. They just take them and it's done. They shouldn't be trying to straighten out what they did because it was wrong. Help those people out.
Actually, if you've been paying attention, they already have. The government has been stuck with $1.7 billion worth of reparations to go to most Native American tribes. That includes the Shoshone, Cherokee,
I wasn't asking
Blackfoot,
All right, I wasn't asking you about what the government's done. I'm asking your opinion. You said, I think, fuck it, they shouldn't do it, blah, blah, blah. Fuck it, I don't give a damn. So I was just trying to refine your statement. Are you saying that those Indians who went through that, you're saying they deserve nothing? Fuck them.
No.
All right.
That stuff has just come and gone.
You think?
You can either
The
build from
Indians
this
are still
point
living on
on,
reservations.
or you can continue living in the past.
It's in the past?
Okay,
They
where's my
suffer every day.
Where's my reparation?
I don't know. We're
So
talking
where's
about
my
Indians, but we
reparations?
can jump
I'm
conversation if
one
you
quarter.
want. Who's wronged you?
I'm one quarter Cherokee. I'm 1/4 Cherokee Indian. Where's my reparation for the damage done to my national pride?
I think because you're white, you don't
See,
get
that's
any. Your white uncle, stabbed
no.
your
I
Indian
am on the
son.
Cherokee. I'm on the National Cherokee Registry. I am 1/4 Cherokee Indian.
Me as well, Blackfoot
I'm
and
on the
Cherokee.
registry in Oklahoma. I am on the registry in Oklahoma. I could
So
go up there
then,
now and live off land. I don't. You know why? Because I was taught by my elders that no man deserves anything just given to him. He should always
oh,
work for everything he gets.
dude, I think we're talking about two different things. If someone comes in, kidnaps you, and enslaves you, how does the fuck a man should work for what he gets? How does that even apply? The fuck does that mean? I'm a slave. I should just stay a slave? I don't even know what that means. You got to work for it. If you're fucking being oppressed by somebody and jailed or turned into a slave or made lesser than, just working is gonna make shit equal.
Show me one person who's being oppressed.
You're looking at one right now. Been oppressed all my life.
Oppressed? For what?
I'm guessing it's because of my color or where I stay, the type of cat, because I won't join in with the society at large, or whatever. But yes, black people, period. We're being targeted. We get more fucking tickets. We get worse health care, higher mortality rate, higher shorter lifespan, all these things.
Policing has nothing to do with society at large.
What has nothing to do with society at large?
How the police act completely different from society at large.
I'm talking about society at large. I didn't even okay. Did you hear me not mention housing, mortality rate, fucking hospital, life expectancy? We're at the bottom of all those things. We go buy a home. Studies show that they will not even. They'll tell a black motherfucker that there are no homes in this white neighborhood, and they'll steer them toward black neighborhoods.
Then you take them to federal court. There are ways to get over that.
I'm supposed to go through the court system, trust the same people that's are oppressing me. Kind of like I should go to the police and let them investigate themselves. Is that what you're telling me? Courts ain't made for me.
Earlier we were.
That doesn't go to the police to be investigated. You have evidence that you have the evidence that they've been racially biased against you, or you don't.
Well, haven't you seen the studies? I've read many of them. The shit's there. In my neighborhood, the suburbs around me, up to 95% of the population is white, but 95% of moving traffic violations go to black people in the surrounding neighborhoods to a black city. They're trying to say, stay out of my fucking neighborhood or stay out of my suburb by taking in all black people. The studies are there. Everybody knows they're doing it. It was all on the fucking news and in the newspapers. So there's the evidence. And so are you telling me the system works if there's evidence?
This is a policing issue. This is not society at large.
All right. Well, I turned it to policing, but let's continue the metaphor with society at large.
Policing issue at large. That's a policing issue.
I heard
That's part of the problem that needs to be addressed when it comes to police, but not society at large that dictates that.
Let me draw. I'm gonna stop monopolizing the conversation, but let me draw the parallel for you. The policing issue is a problem with white power structure and racism. The problem with society at large, it comes
It's a
from the
problem for
same.
everybody.
Do not tell me, Hawkwind, that you believe that it's equal for whites and minorities. Are you telling me the United States is equal for all? Is that where we're going with this conversation?
It's
Yeah, that's
supposed
what I honestly believe. Yes, because everybody has the same. You have
All
equality
right,
of
all right.
opportunity. It does not
Okay.
mean equality of outcome.
I'm not gonna change your mind on those
That's not
subjects.
That's all right.
The thing
okay.
there,
Yeah,
we're here.
if you have racial imbalance, or if you have a racial inequality, you have a ways and means to fight it. Everybody does.
Yeah, and the slave should have just went, because his way of fighting being a slave was to go complain to slave master. Slave master would tell him, "What's your meager earnings? You need to earn $2,500, $1,500 to $2,500, a fortune in that time." So he had an avenue as well, which is what you're telling me. You have an avenue, go through it. Blow me with that bullshit, Hawkwind.
Well,
Have you ever seen the movie Glory?
Have I seen what? Glory?
Did you ever see the movie Glory?
American Glory? I don't know.
No, Glory.
Yes, I've seen Glory, yeah.
You think those men sat there and complained about what they had? No, they fought for it. They fought for what they wanted. That's what it comes down to.
I saw the
Everybody
movie.
has the ability to fight for what they want and to get what they
There
want.
we go.
Agreed. But I saw the movie.
I have great privilege. Believe me.
They spent time complaining as
I don't
well.
live in a world of
I fight and I complain.
right. Well, if
good.
we're-
I mean, that's what we all need to do. We all need to fight for this brutality.
I do fight, man.
I fight brutality.
Me as well.
What do you think I went and learned the laws in my state? You think GTAD goes out and he does what he does? Fighting for equality and making sure our rights are respected is every American's God-given responsibility.
I would
You
agree.
can't expect to have freedom if you're not willing to fight for it.
I agree. I'm not contending that. I agree with you.
If you've been racially profiled, say something. There are people who will stand. I will be one of them. But I do not believe in a systemic racist society because that has never been proven. You have police who have.
the cool
Well,
thing,
You
I
only
mean, you can
take
laugh
2
at me all you
seconds
want.
on Google. Google systemic racism in America as opposed to Googling there is none. Google it. Fucking MIT, California.
I don't believe Google has the answer. There are
I think the
a lot of
argument
black
is that it's not systemic.
men and women who would disagree with you wholeheartedly on that statement.
Undoubtedly,
Casey
they've been
Owens would
poisoned like you. It doesn't matter your color. It's
No.
what you've been exposed to. You got black Uncle Toms. I'd agree
And-
with that.
So, Joe, speaking of
I would not ever
Uncle
say-
Tom's, speaking of Uncle Tom, I had to go ahead and clarify this. I never will call anybody Uncle Tom if I agree with them. Okay, right? If y'all don't know the story of Uncle Tom, he was actually the
We
hero of the
do.
story. He was the hero of the story. Okay, Uncle Tom was the hero of the story. So, Black Uncle Tom, that means you're doing a good thing. You're actually there to save the slaves. What Uncle Tom would do is, say if you're short on your bale of hay or your cotton or whatever, he'd go ahead and get his cotton, put it in your bag so you don't get whipped by master. All right. The main person that you want to watch out was for Sambo. He was a house slave. Right. Now he was a house slave, and he would go ahead and he would tell on the other slaves so he can get more rewards. Okay. So whenever you call somebody Uncle Tom, you're actually saying they're the good guy.
You
Right.
know, I say that shit a lot. And I'd say 1 in 10, someone will remind me. I know the story well, but so, hey Joe, by the way, I'm like, yes, I'm just using the modern lexicon. I'm familiar with the fucking story. In fact, George Booker T. Washington had a story that was real, just like the one you're talking about, where he was a slave when he was a kid, and the older slave, and they wouldn't give him clothes made out of cloth and shit. That was saved for them. They give him shit made out of like corn stalks and shit that would stab the fuck out of you. He said the kindest thing he's ever seen was when the older guys took his shirt and worked in it for a few days and break it in. Then when it's like cloth and shit, he gave it back to the kid. He gave it back to Booker T. Washington. I thought that was cool. Yeah, it reminds me of the story you're saying with Sambo. With Uncle Tom giving his shit to people, his hay to keep them from being whipped.
Yeah.
Here's one thing about racism in America. Look at Gas up there. We don't agree on a lot of shit. He's atheist, I'm not. He's gay, I'm not. He's that kind of an anarchist in a lot of ways, I'm not. But you can ask him, how many times have I ever defended him against anybody who trashed him?
Right.
Same with you, Ken. How many times have I been there to stand with him against people who trashed him?
I'd rather ask honest, Gas,
America
is there a systemic racism problem in America, honest?
I haven't seen one.
Must be nice, bro.
Yeah. I wouldn't say. See, the trouble is, I live a very different life than you, Joe Cool. So what I experience is, one of the things that people will say. I actually have something else to say real quick, but I'll say this first. Is that people will have trouble comparing their own experiences to others. I couldn't say that I feel the same way when a police officer's behind me. I feel scared and shit, and at one point I was really paranoid, but I guess I can't really know what that's like to be a black person. But I will say that being gay, being taken to a Methodist church hospital, that was an experience of discrimination that I never experienced. So there are all kinds of things we can call systemic prejudice.
Hey, Gas, I would never say to you, there is no gay issue in America. Yeah, right. That would be insane. Yeah. So for you and the Hawk to tell me, hey, I don't even think it exists, I haven't seen it, you guys just seem like you've been living in a fucking rock somewhere.
No, I'm just saying I haven't seen it myself.
But you're aware it exists, yeah? You're aware that it exists. People certainly
feel that way.
No, I'm not asking you how you do how other people feel. I'm asking you, are you aware that there's a systemic, deep, racist problem in America? Are you aware of such a thing existing, and not have you fucking experienced it yourself? Are you aware that it exists?
I know that there are definitely prejudiced people out there.
I'm sorry, you rephrased my question, and you did a really poor job doing it. I didn't ask you, was there racists out there living somewhere? Please don't change my question again and just answer it. I'm asking you, is there a systemic problem in America with racism?
But you can't say the whole system is racist.
I'm saying the whole fucking system isn't based on racist mentalities and racist remnant philosophies. It was built on them. All right, I'm not going to convince you in the conversation.
I'm trying to absorb it.
Yeah, we might need a few more of these panels.
Stop.
Good segue.
Hold on, Hawk is talking. Go ahead.
Tell me, don't you think affirmative action is racist?
So he said, do you think affirmative action is racist?
You got everything, yeah.
What'd he say,
but
G?
I don't agree with policies that are racist. No.
Right.
Oh, no. I was not saying all people are racist. I wouldn't say nothing crazy like that. Hold on, wait.
Time out. All right. So I heard what Hawkman said. Joey's asking you, do you agree with racist policies such as affirmative action?
I do not. I think they're against the Constitution, man. But I think the people up against a rock and a hard place. You know, they had to take a little black girl to school with the National Guard because white folks were stubborn. And like you, they thought no problem existed. Everything is fine. They were wrong then. You are wrong now. History will tell you, will show you. Your kids will say, what were you doing when George Floyd was murdered? You're going to say he had a record and he killed somebody. They ain't going to say you out your fucking mind. How'd you let history pass you by?
So when it comes to like
But see, that's not
different areas recognizing systemic racism, Joe, I'm going to say this, that most people have to be exposed to it, right?
I agree. I'm aware.
They have to be exposed to it, not just say like, is it there? So I understand your question. I understand his defense. Basically, what's going on is you witnessed systemic racism. You know, you witnessed it. You know, and they probably witnessed racism as well. But I mean, like, do they witness systemic racism? You know what I mean? So it's all coming to it like an education. It's not.
Check out this metaphor that I use, and I think it'll encapsulate what you're saying very well. Sure. Me and you walk into a dark room, pitch black, from different ends. There's a statue of an elephant in the middle of that room. You approach from the south, I approach from the north, and we know we're touching the same statue. I'm feeling a tusk. I'm telling you this statue is sharp, you know, and it's hard. You're feeling a fucking, you're feeling a foot or an ass or something. You're saying, no, I'm telling you, Joe, the statue is smooth. You're wrong. That's all it is. We're looking at the same creature from two different ends. That's all it is.
Right. You know, and that's the thing is, you know, there's I'm sorry, what's that, Hawkwood?
Well, you brought up George Floyd. Not what happened to George Floyd was murder. Plain and simple. That cop is going to get what he deserves. You bring up the Rashad, then people go into the Rashad Brooks shooting, which was not racially motivated. That was a justified shooting of a criminal who tried to assault a cop.
Legally,
you got two different.
Who are you talking about? The guy who got shot in the back?
I think we're talking about the guy in the Wendy's parking lot.
While he's turned around firing a weapon at the police. Yes.
That was the one that fought the police and ran and took off running, right?
Yeah.
That's correct.
So, Hawkwind, why is it okay for him to be shot because he fought cops?
Totality of circumstances.
He fired a weapon. Please.
He fired a taser that they knew was empty.
Back at the police officers during his.
I agree. So if he fired a BB gun, he should be killed too?
It was not empty. Yeah.
The trouble is the legal side of this is that whether it was
BB gun is not considered.
Yeah. Is that he probably should not
under Georgia law is considered a deadly weapon. The DA himself said months ago, a taser gun under Georgia law is considered a deadly weapon.
Means what?
So what he did in effect is he ran, fired a deadly weapon.
Means what?
He fired a deadly weapon at that
means what? Are you telling me because they labeled that shit a deadly weapon and he fired a taser at a motherfucker, I'm supposed to believe their gobbledygook speak and suddenly be confused and think it's okay to kill a nigga for shooting a taser at me from 20 feet away? And besides, I saw the tape as well, Hawkwind. He had stopped. He had turned around. The taser was pointing to the ground. He was running and shot in the back. He wasn't shot in the side hip. The guy was running. So we're clear. Once you shoot that weapon at a cop.
So if someone shoots a weapon at you, he shot a weapon at a cop. That's what got him killed. That's what got him shot.
Oh, wait, okay, I'll give you that. Let's say he shot a dangerous weapon at a cop, Hawkwind, and then he runs away. He can be shot in the back. It's okay?
Legally speaking.
Not legally. I'm asking Hawkwind. Is that okay, Hawkwind?
Oh, okay.
If he shot at those guys with a pistol,
he was not shot,
and then he runs away, it's okay to kill him?
He was not shot. He was not shot after he fired the taser.
I'm saying, I'm giving you that. After he fired the taser, he runs away. Is it okay for him to be shot and killed?
He wasn't shot until after he fired the taser.
You keep repeating that, bruh.
There's no
I'm saying, I'm saying, and I'll say it again. Hawkwind, please be quiet for a second. Maybe you're not hearing the question. Once he fired that taser and turned and ran away, is it okay if he gets shot?
Yeah, because he fired at the cops.
All right, that's what I was asking. Thank you for answering.
Anybody don't raise weapons to a guy with a deadly weapon in his hand.
I'm saying the
Do
guy
not pull
needs
a weapon on a man with a deadly weapon in his hand.
A trial. I'm saying cop can't be executioner. That's my opinion.
Now, speaking of that whole
don't get a trial.
Yeah, speaking of that whole thing, that whole situation, we talked about it because again, like in hindsight, me as an officer, if I was an officer in that situation, you know, I already have his ID, I have, you know, his car, I have everything. In hindsight, I would let him run off and do whatever the fuck he's going to do, or giving him a ride home. Right. That's something I would do. But in hindsight, you know, what they're charging that officer with, felony murder, me personally, I don't think it's right that the guy got shot. But I think they put the felony murder charge so that way they can drop all charges. Because and people think it's all bullshit. Now I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. They're going to drop all charges.
Sat G, I'm with you.
They're going to drop all charges because this is what's going to happen. In order for it to be a felony murder, that officer had to be committing a felony at the time that dude was killed, right? So
and you have to prove intent.
So they were there for a legal stop, right? They did pull him out. There was a tussle. He ran and he fired what was considered a deadly weapon at that officer. Okay.
And everything was friendly until the cuffs came out.
Right.
So it was
racing. As always, as most times it is.
So in general, what I think, and I'm speculating. What I'm speculating. What I think Hawkwind is saying here is, you know, it's not right that he got shot, you know, but in general, I think it's going to be thrown out. I think it's just bullshit to make sure that people calm down in Atlanta.
The same with the George Floyd shit. Those three officers are charged with second degree, I think, which they also have to prove intent. They were telling their boss, hey, I can't find a pulse, let them up. No way you prove intent. That was just to satisfy us.
Yeah, they need to go with something more like manslaughter, right? Because
we'd have never accepted it, right? We'd have lost our fucking minds as people, as the masses, not you and I per se. We'd have lost our mind. It wasn't manslaughter, it was murder. But legally speaking, we can't get them on murder, not those three.
Right.
No. And that's the thing is like,
I think Chauvin's going to go for murder because he had the opportunity to get up off that guy. He was already cuffed. There was no reason to keep restraining him that way. None.
Yeah. If we're talking
Chauvin's going to go down for murder because he had the opportunity to get up. He heard the man saying, I can't breathe. He heard the man saying, I can't breathe. He had people telling him the man's going on, he can't breathe. He's bleeding out of his mouth. He knew what he was doing. He's going for murder. Those cops are going to go for aiding and abetting. They deserve it. I hope that cop in Minnesota gets the death penalty. He knew what he was doing. He's going
on the George Floyd thing. It's entirely possible that George Floyd was going to die anyway, considering he apparently there was some study where he was showing signs of some derangement thing where people are catatonic, where they get into a kind of like a rage kind of thing, and their hearts practically explode. So cases where people like with the Floyd thing, where they have to hold them down, it's like part of the procedure, if that's the case, of course. So if he was showing those symptoms and they said on the radio, hey, this guy's showing this particular symptom, what are the procedures? And they do what they were told and he still died, then if that's what it comes out, then I guess we're going to have more riots on our hands.
Well, you know that they'll find a way, as they always do, to say the police were just following procedure. Right. This is policy. And I disagree with any policy that tells you to cut someone's breath off. And for the reason you just said, especially because they may have a pre-existing health condition. And I don't think anyone gets exonerated for that.
Right. Certainly,
Wait. Oh, wait, guys. I wanted to ask you. You're saying, I wanted to clarify. I don't think you're saying, but it sounds like you're saying that even without that knee to his throat, he would have died. Is that what you're saying?
it's possible. That's at least what the new.
Yes, but we know, right?
It's
We know, right? It's possible, but it's possible I have aliens making love in my ass right now, and I can't feel them because they're too small. It's
right.
possible. Probably not likely, though, right?
Not likely, but
Not
possible.
likely. All right.
Certainly,
Okay.
I'd like to segue into
That kind of blows me away because I've seen that video of George Floyd, and at no point was he making any struggle to get away. He did not seem
No, he was.
particularly upset.
well, we
Yeah.
haven't seen the
He's
body
peaceful.
cams either.
But
So,
if he'd have made a
They didn't
struggle
release it.
and ran, according to you, Hawk, when they shot him in the back, it would have been fair. I'm sorry.
he had a weapon. It's really finicky. That's where the problem is, though. The problem is where the I wouldn't say blame, but more or less like responsibility lies
There you
in
go, yeah.
where and how they respond. You know, because they're like, oh, cops have this hard job, and oh my gosh, you don't, you know, up until recently, you didn't see cops quitting en masse. You know, when have you ever heard of a cop just quitting because he didn't like the job? It was too hard. You know,
Video cameras.
Mhm.
Video cameras. Before this, cops were invincible. They always won. We
Right.
just had a motherfucker, the first cop went to jail for killing a motherfucker in Chicago, and they've been killing us before I was born. That was the Laquan McDonald shooting. Before cameras, they got away literally with murder and torture.
Oh,
Here's
Joe,
where we thank Philip Turner because
Ready already?
I'll let Hawkman say
I
what
said,
he
well,
has to say.
this is where we thank Philip Turner because. Go ahead. I'm sorry, GJ.
No, go ahead, Hawkman.
My apologies. Go ahead, Brandon. Well, this is where we thank Philip Turner. You know, because
Yes.
he's one of the few people who made it where we could actually fill the police, especially in our state, Arkansas and Louisiana.
I've been watching him all
at least in
morning,
those three
man.
states.
Just straight Philip Turner all morning, all old shit. Yes. I watched.
Oh yeah,
Oh my goodness.
I love the I talk to him every so often, but I don't get to talk to him enough because he's a fountain of information. He really is.
He is. I rap with
He
him
knows a
couple
lot of
weeks ago.
information that people really need to pay attention to.
Yeah, I lost my
You know, when
contacts, man. My fucking phone went out, and now, like G just texted me. I fucking like, who is this? I got no contacts, man. And you know, my shit's stuck in the cloud so much. I get a new phone, and this motherfucker, I'm not even gonna transfer shit to this. This is like 3 generations ago. Before I was cop watching, I bought a phone that had an inadequate camera. I didn't know I'd be fucking filming for a living and all that bullshit. Oh yes, this one it was so bad. It got even worse after I started filming. It went out at night. I just could. It didn't pick up enough ambient light to film at night, and I was mad about that. Then it started going out in the day. The picture quality got worse and worse and worse. So yeah, I'm not.
So Joe, I had a question for you earlier before you dropped out, and it was about racism in the black community. One of them is, do you believe that black individuals can be racist?
I know many. I spent hours. I can think of a 3-hour conversation with just one dude this month that believes only black people can go to heaven. So yes, black people can be racist and are racist as fuck. And I realize there's a definition of racism that means you must have power. I'm not including that crazy shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And my dad.
And I told them also, like, I found the most racist shit to ever be said in journalists to, you know, disprove, or was it trying to remove someone's existence, right? So like whenever a black person says, man, you ain't even black, I find that shit the most racist shit in the fucking world, bro. I was like, what the fuck you mean? Like, I'm not even black. You're trying to like erase my existence and gaslight my existence. Like, how do you, like, have you ever heard that? Because I know for a fact.
I'm light skinned. You know, I had the worst of it. I grew up in a black neighborhood. I was light skinned. I called shit all my life. And I'm not accepted by white folks either. I'm considered black. So yeah, I've been outcast all my life. I believe I even asked for this miserable existence because it's that fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly. I've been. It's a nice little segue into it's like this is my my stance, and certainly in life, whatever you want to call it, nihilism, whatever. It's that regardless of laws, regardless of rights, everyone is still free to do anything they want without, without any kind of like. I mean, you still have to worry about the consequences of your actions, but you're still able to do them. You can still pick up a knife and kill somebody, but you're it's I want to say like people in South Africa, right? They're losing the war. They either need to stay and fight or they need to leave. And whether they have the rights to or not, any situation, whether they're fleeing Germany during the Nazi Revolution or whatever, but
occupation. Nazi occupation.
Yeah, Nazi occupation. Thank you.
Better than revolution.
It's that people still had the freedom to take the risk and leave. I'm not saying, hey, if you don't like America, leave. I'm saying if you like freedom, exercise your freedom.
I understand. Brian,
it's illegal.
If I told y'all a story about a guy who was at the riots, I don't know if I told you cats. I was in Jeff's room earlier. I told them who filmed a lot of the riots recently. He's from Denver. His name is Brian. He's also known as Cut the Plastic. He's in the chat right now. Brian, if it's okay with G, I would love for you to come up. That cat's a wealth of information. G, his name is Cut the Plastic.
Yeah. Anybody can go ahead and discuss anything in here.
That was the cat I just got off the phone with when I had a phone call. I had to leave. That's what I was talking to. And you got to know him, G, because he's part of the Denver crew, and I see you every fucking where. So Eric Grant, yo. Matter of fact, when I went out there a few months ago, I slept on in Brian's chair, him and Eric's chair, and I didn't sleep really. I stayed up and got high all night. And when Janet got up and started cooking for the homeless, I helped her out. And Brian got up and made coffee. Then Eric got up and we talked about fucking physics and for fucking about 6 hours. And fucking Stephen Hawkins. I was in heaven, man.
Hey.
How you doing, Cut the Plastic?
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I heard my name hollered, and let me get my camera switched. Oh, no.
I should also tell you, G, what me and Brian got off the phone with last night. He was filming a riot, and it got crazy. It was a protest. I shouldn't have called it a riot. And it got crazy because the police went in on him. Some dude ran over protesters. He got damn near 800 motherfuckers in his room. And it's like, I don't know, half a dozen mods or less. And motherfuckers, I'm a tyrant, Joe. I'm a tyrant. And I'm timing out all these trolls, and motherfuckers started getting in my business asking me, why'd you time him out? Why'd you time him out? And then I got fed up with that shit, man. I was working fast. And I'm like, listen, stop asking me questions. You spamming the chat. Start repeating yourself. And I started popping these guys. And some of them like, wait a minute. I'm a contributor to Brian. I gave him $50. I'm not going to stand for this. And Brian was letting that shit ride, Joe. We was just talking about that, like, Joe, so apparently you offended a lot of white folks yesterday. Like, yes, I cut them down like weeds, baby.
Oh, man. Yeah.
That's what he was just talking about before he came here. The Brian's a good friend, too. He came to Chicago and saw me. In fact, he came to Chicago another time to see me. I was at his house in Denver. When he pulled up, I helped him unpack his bags.
Oh, listen, I was lost back in the stream a little bit because Joe asked me to come check this out, and I'm really getting ready, literally and actively, to go out. We're not sure if we're going back to Aurora for the Elijah McClain protests that are ongoing right now at the Aurora Municipal Facility, or if we're going to go to day 31 of continuous direct action in downtown Denver, Colorado.
You lucky fuck.
Since the police started rioting in our city after the death of George Floyd in defense of the Blue Line, right? Like the citizens are taking back over the streets. And journalists have to be showing it because you're not going to see this on NBC, ABC, and whatever, CBS and Fox. So, but I did post a link in the private chat, and I wanted to tell Joe, I forgot to tell you about this, but There was a report done real recently, and just put out by NPR. Actually, like maybe 6 years ago, and it took 10 years for this thing to get out. And it talks about patents and people of color, and actually there's a whole Black history behind it. How African American people got basically pushed out of the patent industry, and there's a whole time period. So I was stuck in a piece where you guys were talking about reparations, and I just think that most people are not aware of how the factor of wealth in the Black community has been taken away so many times. So I threw that in there because it's a really good NPR article.
Yeah, appreciate it. If you take my house and stick it in a white neighborhood, its value triples immediately. You don't even have to make a repair. That shit's crazy.
Yeah, I just subbed to cut the plastic here. But I also took that link. You want me to share that link in the public comments here?
Actually,
the link to his channel, G?
No, the link for the in the private chat that you sent. You want me to share it?
Oh, okay.
I think you find it an interesting article. NPR.
Yeah, I'm already interested. Yeah, I think it's interested as fuck, because that's the thing that I think some people miss, is that we were never given that chance. During the Reconstruction era, when slaves were freed, they talked that 40 acres and a mule shit. We had Black senators and congressmen, and they took it all back. They would renege on the 40 acres and a mule, which would have gave us a chance to attain wealth, which means my father would have had wealth, and I could have got a college degree or whatever, just by being able to participate in the same system other people have. When you take away a person's ability to make wealth, that is the worst form of racism, period.
Again, I maintain there's no inequality of opportunity. There's only inequality of outcome.
Brian,
I mean, I'm not
systematic.
I'm never going to be the next NBA star.
Is there a systemic racist
I can't even walk down
Brian?
the street without this. But I still have the opportunity to go out and make a heck of a living if I wanted to.
As do I. Michael Jordan became a billionaire, so therefore all Black men should. Your fucking logic doesn't hold. Brian.
So I was trying to hear what, and I can't read the names, but the upper right
corner is the cat on the top right. Gas is the cat in the middle.
Okay. So what was the question? I didn't hear it.
Is there a systemic racism problem in America?
Well, I think that there is, right? I mean, let's look at our food supply, for example. Most people are not getting $18 to $20 an hour to go out and pick the food that we eat in our homes in big cities or even in small communities, right? Your access to the dollar. When we look at just very recently the PPP loans, let's make America work loans. The percentage of those loans that are going to minority-owned businesses versus corporations that have no little tax liabilities in the United States because they're all offshore.
I heard 5% go to us, and the rest go to big business.
I mean, that's a systemic issue, right?
Agreed. I'm not sure you answered my question though.
Can you prove that?
I gotta text this girl. Actually, I'm gonna have to get off and
evidence of that.
But I'm gonna text her and invite her here right quick. I'm talking about Swedish Sugar Brand. I'm sure you know who she is. So y'all give me.
I do.
So we got about 25 more minutes left, just so everyone knows. I'm gonna go ahead and leave that up for you guys. But you can still invite if I'm still here. You can go ahead and come in.
I actually got to be going here pretty soon, but I wanted to bring up an interesting thing that I know that G-Tag and I, we're really close to each other in proximity, and I was wondering, what do you guys think of protesting by picking up trash? Right?
I think it's a good idea. I've done it.
Yeah? I want to go out there with a sign or something and like place it in the ground periodically as I move to pick up trash and just be like, police accountability, you know, whatever the sign may be, and
it's beautiful, right?
I don't want to own it either. I'm sure it's not a new thing. I just wonder if maybe if we maybe built a community around, hey, as long as they're picking up trash, they're part of our group. If they're not picking up trash, that's them. That you can't associate them with us, kind of thing.
Let me tell you that there's a lot of different kinds of things like that when you're active in the streets. And so, bless you, Joe. Right now in Denver, at our actions, you will find in the Denver metro area that the groups police themselves. And this isn't new. When I moved here from Peoria, Illinois in 2012, and I was involved with the March Against Monsanto, and I was involved with Occupy Denver, policing the trash was part of the community's responsibility. And it's still a big deal today. We just went out for 2 weeks in a row where the City of Denver Police Department, in cooperation with the mayor's office and the Office of Public Health, wanted to eradicate people living between the sidewalk and the road because they're not housing them, right? And so at the first action that we actually turned public health away after they were like cleaning up the garbage piles and they started moving in on people, the people cleaned the streets, right? We had brooms on the sidewalks and we were picking up cigarette butts and plastic trash. The 3-block radius or whatever it was that we were at was some of the cleanest space in the city of Denver. And the point that we were able to do is we were able to prove that treating humans with dignity and respect does not require a gun.
Very good.
That's the system of oppression.
The problem, period, is that I don't care what it is. If my dog gets loose, you call a cop. If my neighbor's tree is hanging over my gate dropping leaves, you call a cop. If I get into it, my girl, they have to be a marriage counselor. Yes, they do have too many jobs. They're not qualified. And I wanted to say this to anyone who thinks that racism doesn't exist. There was a study done a few years ago, maybe just a couple or something, that said that 6% of white people believe that racism was a problem in America. 12% believe Elvis was still alive. So there is an enormous cognitive dissonance that I have to deal with every fucking day dealing with you folks.
So I want to finish my thought, though. You should absolutely clean up trash. You should absolutely. It's a beautiful thing when human beings are actively in the middle of the event, and everybody sees somebody cleaning trash. It causes a group conscious and awareness, right? It elevates
trash too.
It elevates it. And let me tell you what: when there's 5,000 people out there and the protest is done and the city streets are clean. Right. The news don't have nothing to pick on everybody for, right?
That's a statement in itself.
It creates it's constant. I have always at my organized or unorganized actions had trash crews. Now, as a journalist, I'm not involved, and I don't take I'm gonzo, but I don't take a proprietary role in the management of the action.
Yeah, I understand.
So, but shit, we used to go just have community gatherings where we go clean the trash and then go get drunk afterwards, pass joints around the whole time.
We got people who still do it. Certain cats are assigned to certain blocks for one way or another. We know who to go to if you need something taken care of. Usually they're doing it themselves. Out here lawnmower early in the morning or something like that. That'll be my neighbor cutting my shit. Then we'll give him a few bucks, or whatever. In fact, we bought the lawnmower that he used. He'd been doing it for so many years that his shit broke, and we bought it. And we still pay him when he cuts our shit or come by and shovel snow before I get my lazy ass out of bed. And there are a couple people on just my block alone who kept it up, and they still do it.
Just takes one to get that ball rolling, but it also just takes one to tear it all down.
To fuck shit up, right? And what do you do with that anarchist? That is the problem. There's another African proverb that says a child who is not allowed to stay in the village will burn it down to feel the warmth of its flames.
That's a beautiful sentiment. I really jive with that.
Go ahead, Brian.
It might take one, but there's a really good TED talk about the third person, because like the first person is like the one who gets the idea, the second one is the one who like supports it, but it's the third person who joins in that like creates the movement, and you can see that like even in just
That
like
was
clubs and
dope.
dances,
That was
there's all
dope.
kinds
The
of things. It's a
third
really good TED
person.
talk. But listen, Joe, I came in here because you asked, and I appreciate it. It's nice to meet all of you. And I'm gonna go back and subscribe as well. But I gotta get the batteries. I gotta pack. We gotta go hit the streets, do the work. This is
Brian,
not
charge your
one.
batteries.
Thank you. Hey, thank you very much,
Charge your
Coach. I
batteries,
appreciate it.
Brian.
I appreciate you coming in. Anytime you want to go ahead and join the discussion, please do that. And just like you said, the Elijah McClain story, I did want to actually discuss that in next week's topic. So, guys, if you guys want to do your research on that one, I did share 2 videos of 2 people who had 2 different opinions on that situation in my community page. So, I want to talk about that next week. So, if you guys want to go ahead and discuss that, please feel free to join next week. Yes, go ahead.
If you email me, or if I can, Joe, let's connect or whatever. Let's make sure this happens. I got one thing to say, and I'm gonna cut it with this. I've done ketamine before. I was an adult over the age of 18, and it was by my choice. Okay, that's my thought. We'll talk to y'all later. Thank you.
Take it easy.
I love that nigga Joe. In fact, that's one of the cats I call one of my idols the other day. He called a judge that gave him a lot of shit. He called her a nigger cunt. And yes, he did. And I don't know if you know my role in the community, but I am the active black dude. So my phone blew up, right? My phone blew up. Joe, are you gonna address him? I know you're friends, blah, blah, blah. And he's a mutual friend with Brian. Brian introduced me to that. And I call Brian and a lot of all white people, by the way, and asked, it doesn't, if a guy says that, doesn't make them racist. And to the man, they all said, listen, I've said it at some point in anger, and one person who didn't say it called me back and said, I feel bad I left this out. To be honest, Joe, in anger, I've said it myself. And I was like, geez, I called the best motherfuckers I could think of that I know are not racist. And one of them told me, listen, Joe, I think you're reading too much. When you're in that state, you're trying to dig deep with the worst words you can find to hurt a motherfucker. And we know as white people, that is the worst shit we can come up with, the best way to hurt a motherfucker. And we use it when we're angry. It doesn't mean we don't like black folks. So I was thankful for that, yo.
Yeah, I think, who was it? What's that, guys?
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining, man. Have a good one.
Thanks for having me.
I gotta cut out too. This girl didn't show up. I told her to come say hi, but it's my birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. And she's been with family, so she just texts me like, family's gone, baby. I'm all yours. So if I'm over here, I'm gonna get stabbed. I gotta go, guys.
Adios, brother.
Hit me next time.
Good seeing you.
Please, guys.
Good seeing you, Hawkwind, and it's good to have you, Hawkwind, as well. I know you're getting some flack in the comments there, but I'll remind the commenters that we don't want everyone here to think the same way. We want some people with different opinions too.
It's true.
So try to keep that in mind. Take it easy, guys. I'll get off now. I guess
you can't do it. You can't do it. Look. Yeah, it looks like you're frozen a little bit, Hawkwind. There you go.
Okay. Well, I know my opinion is not going to make me very popular, and that's okay. I don't live on popularity.
Yeah, me either. I mean, I don't care about popularity either. Again, like I tell everybody, these are unpopular opinions for a reason, because not everybody's going to enjoy these opinions. Not everybody's going to enjoy this discussion. That's what this whole thing is for. It's for a discussion to get that out, share your opinion, and for those to speak. Because again, like I say, if you live in the echo chamber, you're not learning. you're sitting there in the echo chamber and accepting a reality that you built. You know, so again, I appreciate everybody coming here and having you know, say at anything, you know, with their beliefs, what they do or don't believe. You know, I'm here to listen. You know, so that's the thing. So again, like I say, everybody's welcome to join. You know, that's just how it is.
Yeah. I know you got things doing. But I'm getting ready to cut it out, so I'm gonna wish you adieu, and you have a good weekend, man.
No problem.
Starting a good week, actually.
Well, tomorrow's
You be
Monday.
careful and you have fun with your family.
Thank you very much, brother. I'm gonna go ahead and head to bed myself.
God.
But I want to thank everybody for coming out again. Thank you, Hawkwind. Thank you, Joe Cool. Thank you, Gas. Thank you, Cut the Plastic. You know, I do appreciate everybody coming in. You know, if you guys want to show any support, again, as y'all know, I do not accept donations. You can always go to thorn.org. Again, that is thorn.org, and make a donation in my name if you choose to. I don't get any of the funds, but it does go to a good cause. So I do appreciate you all supporting us and coming in to have a decent discussion and share your opinion. So, Hawkman, would you have anything that you want to go ahead and say before we cut out?
I have a good week, and I know it's been a very hard year for everybody. You know, the coronavirus problem, lots of the things that we used to gather around as a community, we're missing. And let's all remember, it's not going to be like this for much longer. I hope to God very shortly that we all can get back to a normal life without a mask on.
Yep. All right.
I think I put some people to sleep with that.
Yeah, I'm sick of the mask myself. I'm just tired of it. But yeah, man, thank you very much for coming in, man. You have a good one.
You too, G-Tag. We'll catch you on the
Born.org. All right, guys, y'all have a good night. Take it easy. Love, peace, chicken grease. Have a good one, guys.